Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, EM wants me to move away from my mom on plane so she can have extra seat. EM tries to profit from charity. Karma hits. My father called complaining about my brother about something he used to do to me. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. EM wants me to move away from my mom on plane so she can have extra seat. Backstory. Was on a plane back from vacation. My mom and I were sat in a row of 3 and had a spare seat. EM wanted me to swap with her so she could get 2 seats to herself and I would sit with her husband and kid. Cast, EM, curly hair, fat but not obese, that special type of, I'm on a cheap flight but I'm better than all of you. Mom, my mom. Me, I cringe so much when people go, oh, don't know who that is. Haha, you know who teehee, f*ck off, it's me. FA, the most useless tit I've ever met, flight attendant. So, we were in the air, the seatbelt sign was off and we are free to roam about. The flight had a couple spare seats from what I could see, including the one next to me. My mom and I had booked the middle and window seat, but I moved to sit in the aisle so we would have more space. The woman sat in front. EM continuously whipped her head round to stare at me for a few seconds. I tried to ignore her, but it was weird. After 20 minutes of her turning round to stare at me every few seconds, she eventually tapped me on the head. She tapped me on my head by reaching over the seat. Excuse me. Her tone was very severe. Me, yes? I was very tired and tried to be polite. EM, swap seats with me. She maintained eye contact the whole time. I took a few minutes to respond because I was just dumbfounded. Me, I'm with my mom, I'd rather not. EM, you've got a spare seat. I want spread out and relax. Swap with me. Me, no. Please leave me alone. EM, that's not how you speak to an adult. She got a little loud, enough to turn heads and disturb my mom, who asked if I was okay. EM, swap with me. I need to sit there, and you can sit next to my child. You can play with him. The child looked around 5. I am 18. Me, please leave. Move right now. This turned everyone's head. Made me so embarrassed and was loud enough to summon a flight attendant. Mid-30s male. FA, is everything all right here? He spoke directly to EM, completely ignoring me. EM, that boy won't move. He's got 2 seats to himself and he. My mom interjected, loudly, at this point. Mom, I actually have 2 seats to myself, both of which I paid for. I was sitting in the aisle seat, which we had not booked. The EM didn't respond to my mom. I think she was intimidated. FA, well, I'll see what I can do. He then turned to me, who had been listening and present the whole time. FA, this woman is asking if you'd be able to swap with her so she could have more space. Would you mind? Would I mind? Me, no, I don't want to swap. Interrupted. She started yelling at me, calling me a brat, calling me selfish. My mom was yelling at her back, and I honestly was struggling not to laugh at EM because I noticed how her chin shook as she shouted. The FA during this argument shrinked away, just backed off and left. EM, realizing she was making a fool of herself, fine.
Selfish brat.
She sat back down and swung her seat back as much as she could, which was fine because it was literally a couple inches and I had plenty of space. My mom asked if I was okay and if I wanted her to make the EM move. I said I was fine. EM started making huffing noises. I ignored her, put in my earphones, and the rest of the flight was fine. When we landed, EM made sure to get up like a rocket and block the walkway so I couldn't get out the aisle. I, however, was feeling petty. I stood up, shuffled over and said, "You don't mind, do you?" Then barged into the walkway in a way that looked accidental. She stumbled into someone else who promptly launched her back into her seat. It was hilarious, like watching a ping pong ball. She didn't move after that, and we got off the plane and never saw her again. This story is funny as hell. Thanks. Glad someone can enjoy my harrowing ordeal. Why would anyone agree to do that? She's crazy if she thinks any stranger would give up their extra seat and want to play with her kid so she can relax. Like, WTF? Classic adult to a teenage move. There's a kid your age. I bet she just wanted to swap to get away from her kid LMAO. DKYTB's the kid was RLY quiet. Upvote for your definition of me. EM tries to profit from charity. My daughter goes to a state school for the severely disabled. The school is very small, about 50 to 60 students, give or take, but each and every one of them is not just disabled, but profoundly disabled. Children who are profoundly disabled need a lot of equipment, and that equipment is expensive and frequently not covered by any kind of insurance. Once a year, the school has a drop and swap day where parents can bring in the equipment their child has outgrown or no longer needs and pick up other equipment if they need it. This is a hugely popular event. There's no limit on what you can take, but of course everyone tries to only take what they need. My husband and I walk into this event carrying some paltry offerings, mostly sterile tubing from when our daughter had a My Key button, feeding tube, some cans of nutritional supplements, and an off-brand bumbo seat for bigger kids who can't sit up on their own. We put down everything, let our daughter play with all the toys that had been brought, and started looking over the offerings, which were many and varied. Wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, lifting harnesses, special bikes, diapers, etc., etc., but what caught our eye was a reclining mesh chair. While we were looking at the chair, EM was hovering nearby watching us fiddle with it and said, "This one is better." She brought over a very similar chair that looked a bit newer and was less fiddly and easier to adjust. We examined it and agree it was the better of the two and picked it up to take it. EM, that was $800 new. We stopped walking and glanced back at her. I thought she was just making conversation, or maybe she wanted us to thank her since she had brought it. Me, yeah, I don't doubt it. This kind of stuff is crazy expensive. Did you bring this? EM, yes, I did. How much can you give me for it? Me, Husband and I exchange looks. We are almost certain this is a free donation/charity event, but what if we're mistaken? Husband, well, I mean, I could offer you $20. That's all I've got on me. EM, that's really not enough. Me, oh well, we'll just get the other one. We both eye her as we pick up the less nice, but still very nice, chair a bit cautiously, at this point wondering if someone was going to come up and demand money for it. We move around looking at other things and the EM is doing the same, picking up some of the nicer stuff and loading it all onto the seat of a very expensive wheelchair. I notice she picks up the nutritional supplement we brought, a whole case missing only one can. There are 30 in a case and a case costs almost $200. I whisper to my husband, "Me, maybe we should have traded that to her for the chair." Husband chuckles, but now we both note that she is scavenging this event, picking out only the nicest and most expensive items, and we stand back to watch her. Sure enough, she is trying to sell the items to the other parents, stuff she hadn't even brought. She waits until she sees them looking at something, and then goes over to try and sell them a nicer version of it from her stock. The principal has noticed too, and steps over to her in a hurry. "Principal, ma'am, nothing is for sale here. These are all donations, everything is free." EM, huffs, "Well, what about the stuff I brought in?" Principal, "You can donate it or you can take it home, but we can't let you charge for it. This is a charity event." The EM looks annoyed but grabs the reclining chair and puts it onto the stack with all the expensive stuff she is apparently taking. Principal, "Ma'am, your son doesn't need any of this stuff. Why don't you leave it for the parents who really need it?" I don't know her, or who her son is, or what his diagnosis is, but I guarantee you that the principal knows all of that. EM, "It's stupid to give this stuff away for free. Do you know how much it's worth?" Everyone has stopped and is staring at her now, and the EM finally notices that she has all eyes on her, and there is not one sympathetic face. We're all frowning at her and judging pretty hard. Principal: I know you could take all of that, sell it, and make a tidy profit, but that wouldn't be in the spirit of what we are doing here. Please take only what you personally need and will use for your son. EM glares, pushes the wheelchair hard so it rolls into a wall, grabs her reclining chair that she brought, maybe, who knows really, and storms out. The rest of us all exchange disbelieving looks and shake our heads. You would think one of our own ranks, the mother of a severely disabled child, would be more understanding, but I guess there are EMs in every group. That's disgusting. Ma'am, if you'd like, everyone here at this event would love to beat you until all of this equipment is necessary for you personally. Would you be amenable to that? That's so gross. I hope she gets karma hard. I feel bad for her kid. BTW, is there any way we could help out the school? I don't even want to think about what kind of mom this person has to be. Bet their kid gets the bare minimum, not because mom doesn't have the money, but mom doesn't want to spend it on them. Notice she wasn't talking about selling that shit was taking and then buying something for her kid. Karma hits. My father called complaining about my brother about something he used to do to me. Several years ago, I lived with my father because housing market sucks, and I worked a pretty demanding job. When I was done, the last thing I wanted to do was cook. Well, when I'd often get off a shift, I'd come home to find that my dad ate my dinner, or I'd go to grab my lunch only to find that he'd eaten that. No matter how many times I'd tell him to stop, he still wouldn't, despite the fact that I never touched his food. What made me even more frustrated is that he would complain about the money I'd waste when I ordered food, despite me saying over and over that I would have food if you didn't eat it. Well, the other day he called me complaining that Tim, my brother, came home from his military tour and is now doing the exact same thing to my dad. I was like, that's crazy. It's like he doesn't respect nor care about the fact that you work a full-time job, and at the end of the day, all you want to do is just relax, eat, and go to bed. The sarcasm was lost to my father, but the irony still has me giggling. Hilarious, and I actually went through something similar, but with my little brother. Growing up, my little brother would inhale certain foods my mom would buy once in a while. Expensive cereal like Lucky Charms, anything Hostess, any candy, cookies, etc. He'd eat it fast and sometimes eat it all the day we brought it home. I would maybe get a couple bites of the food or none at all, and it was frustrating. I resorted to hiding food in my room, which led to my bro and mom getting upset with me and making fun of me for hoarding food. Cut to years later, my bro moved into his GF's family's house. His GF had a little brother going through puberty. LOL, my bro would call my mom all the time complaining that his GF's little brother was eating all the food my bro bought. My mom and I had a good laugh on the phone about that. Karma. Don't hint around. Tell him straight up that this is the crap he did to you. Please explain it to Mr. Clueless. Let him know that karma hit him in the face. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.